Okay, my name's Jon Willis. I'm an Associate Professor in the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies Unit at the University of Queensland. What I want to talk about is the reasons that are typical for people failing in their first year or so at uni. And you might think that every student has their own unique reason for failing, but I get to sit in on a lot of the interviews that students have with Associate Deans Academic, where they're trying to explain what happened to them in a semester where they failed more than half of their subjects. And it surprised me to find after a couple of years that the reasons that students give fall into typically one of three different categories. So the first of those categories is around the organisation of study. That students who are coming into uni don't have the right kind of organisation of time and the right set of study skills to make the use of the opportunities that uni provides. And so they study the wrong things, and so they go into university exams and they fail, or they don't give enough time outside of their classes to the work that they need to do to keep up with what is required by uni. So in those cases where you find yourself in the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks of uni and you're starting to think, I must be really dumb, there's no way, I should be coping, everybody else is coping, there's something wrong with me, I must be a fraud, they don't really know what I'm like, they shouldn't have let me in. All of those things, all of those doubts that you have about yourself are things that everybody feels. We've even got a name for it. We call it Imposter Syndrome, that everybody thinks that they're an imposter and they're going to get found out. So if you find yourself feeling like that, my recommendation is that you go and see one of the student support staff here at the unit, and particularly Valeska and Danae, who work on student study skills and study plans, and get them to work through with you your schedule and your study habits for each of the subjects that you're doing. So you'll get into a rhythm with study that'll get you through successfully to the end of semester. The second reason that people have for failing a semester, I might call the broken heart reason. There's a whole range of reasons why young people end up with a broken heart at uni. Obviously, there's the standard one that you fall in love with somebody and then you break up with it. And what happens in the first year of uni is that, the person that you're in love with at high school meets somebody else and they break up with you and you end up with a broken heart. So that's something that really throws people for a six. But people get broken hearts for a whole range of other reasons. A key one at uni is loneliness, that people's heart breaks or their spirit breaks because they're lonely. And if you've moved from home to Brisbane to come to uni, it may be that you're missing your friends from home, or you're missing your family, and that affects your soul or affects your spirit or breaks your heart. If that happens to you, I really encourage you to come to the Aboriginal Studies Unit and talk to people there about that, because there's a ready-made family and there's a ready-made group of friends at the unit who can, they won't make up for the fact that your heart is breaking because you're away from friends and family, but they'll give you some new people to care for and who are going to care for you. The other thing that happens in relationship terms at uni, and it's just a fact of life, that when people get to about the age of 20, their grandparents are getting around to the age of 60, and that's when grandparents start to get sick, and you can be really unlucky at uni and one of your grandparents can pass away. And that's a really common occurrence at university. I won't say it happens to everybody, but it happened to me. My grandmother passed away when I was in my final year at uni, and it happens to a surprising number of students. And for a lot of us who grew up, close to our grandparents, it's something that really, really affects us, particularly if we're away from them at the time that it happens. So if something like that happens to you, it might be your grandparent, it might be one of your family, it might be your mother or your father gets sick. just be aware that that stuff can really affect you, and you know, uni moves at a real pace. You've got 13 weeks in a semester, and you can't really afford to be switched off because of, you know, emotional heartbreak for 2 or 3 weeks even, let alone the couple of months that it takes to get over one of those sort of major kind of heartbreaks. And so what we have to do in that situation is get you out of responsibilities for uni work while you're recovering, or while you're dealing with that problem at home. And so, you know, come and talk to Natalie or Rachel or to Valeska or Danae, and they'll do the paperwork with you that you need to make sure that while you're dealing with those serious problems that you have in your life, that uni doesn't add to those problems, and that you don't end up with you know, a HECS debt or a fee help debt, or failures on your record, just simply because you haven't done paperwork at the right time when your mind was really on something else. Okay, the third reason why people fail, the first one was, you know, study skills and proper schedule. The second one was those kind of heartbreaks that happen to us at this time in our lives. The third one is all around money, that people frequently have to work, particularly our mob, because we don't come from rich families necessarily like other kids at uni, that you have to get a part-time job, or, you know, you have to live at home and it might be far away from uni, so you've got to travel, you know, a couple of hours each way on public transport a day. And that means either the part-time work or all of that travel means that you don't have the time to devote to study that other kids have. And it's getting that work and uni balance right is really hard. So I've had examples where really clever kids have had to work really long hours. You know, they've been packing shells in Woolies, or, you know, one kid I know was studying vet science, and he had a really great job working in a vet clinic, really relevant to his studies, but it ended up he was working more than 45 hours a week on his part-time job. He was working more than a full-time job, as well as doing a full-time uni program, and he was going mad, and he just didn't fathom that nobody can work that hard. There just aren't enough hours in the week, and so he was blaming himself for failing, and we had to say to him, look at the balance of uni work and paid work. If you want to succeed at uni, you've either got to go part-time or you've got to give up some of this paid work. That was a real trial for him. But just bear in mind that, you know, students all have money problems at uni, particularly people who come from, you know, working backgrounds, people who don't come from rich backgrounds, and that we're used to hearing stories from students about how they're struggling with money. So if you find yourself in difficulty, do come and talk to Rachel or come and talk to Natalie about the problems that you're having, because there are resources available to help you out. The 3 things to watch out for: number 1, get your study schedule right, and get your make sure you're studying the right things, and make sure you're putting enough hours into studying those things. Number 2, watch out for heartbreaks. And heartbreaks come in all shapes and sizes, and if something like that happens to you, then come and talk to somebody early, and don't be embarrassed, don't be ashamed about talking to us about those things, because you know, you're only human, and so are we, and we'll listen and we'll sympathise and we'll help you sort out the issue. Number 3, paid work versus uni work. Don't fall into the trap of not prioritising your uni work. You have to do a lot of paid work just to meet your rent. Then come and talk to us about how we sort your uni work into better balance with the paid work that you have to do.